What's good, fam? This is what happened when Drake's ego finally collapsed under the pressure of Kendrick's legacy during the Super Bowl 61 halftime show. The boy is officially terrified of a stage he used to claim he owned, and he literally turned down the biggest performance of the year just to avoid being mentioned in the same breath as Kung Fu Kenny. Fighting a case you already lost in the court of public opinion is a losing battle, and hiding in the shadows while everyone else shines under the lights only makes the situation look worse. Levi's Stadium felt absolutely electric on February 8th, 2026, and that energy in Santa Clara vibrated through the screen for every fan watching at home. Bad Bunny held it down as the solo headliner, and he showed the world why he is a global phenomenon who doesn't need anyone else to validate his presence. Whispers about the guest list had the industry buzzing for weeks, but the fact that Drake rejected a spot tells you everything about his current headspace. Reports confirm he had a chance to join the set and remind the world why he used to be a heavy hitter, yet he officially declined the invitation because the shadow of Kendrick Lamar still looms large. Internal sources are confirming that Drake skipped the stage to avoid the noise and that inevitable revenge narrative that has followed him like a ghost since Kendrick destroyed the 2025 halftime show. Drake realizes that the second he walks onto a Super Bowl field, the comparisons will start, and he is simply not ready to deal with that level of scrutiny. Critics are pointing out that this move proves he is playing a permanent game of defense, now because he is terrified of a public opinion court that already found him guilty. Claiming the GOAT title is impossible when you are literally dodging the biggest platform in entertainment because you are afraid of how the internet will react. That decision backfired in a massive way when fans immediately noticed his absence, and the narrative shifted from his music to his cowardice. Watching a man who used to run the summer now hiding during the biggest winter event in sports just to avoid being compared to his rival is honestly wild. This choice shows that Drake is still trying to control a narrative that already moved past him, and he is looking more desperate by the day. Hide and seek is the game he is playing with his own career while the rest of the world moves on to bigger and better things. Guesting next to Bad Bunny should have been a layup, but it felt like a threat instead of an opportunity to him. Drake could have used that moment to show he still carries that superstar energy, but he chose to stay in the dark instead. Fans across the globe were quick to point out that this is not how a confident artist behaves, but rather how someone who is deeply shaken by his losses acts. Escaping the comparison to Kendrick is impossible, no matter how many invitations he declines or how many stadiums he avoids. Moving on to the absolute financial car crash of the weekend, Drake managed to drop $1 million while literally sitting on his couch, which is honestly the most predictable thing he could have done. A massive bet on the New England Patriots to win Super Bowl LX showed up on his feed, and he likely figured this was a quick way to buy back some of that missing street cred. Instead of an easy win, the Seattle Seahawks showed up with a point to prove and absolutely dismantled the Patriots with a final score of 29-13. The money is just gone. That $1 million stake evaporated into nothingness, and the internet had those receipts ready to go before the fourth quarter even hit the 2-minute warning. Immediately, the timeline turned into a sea of Drake-cursed memes because his record of picking the wrong side is reaching a point where it feels statistically impossible. This whole loss serves as a perfect metaphor for his current career trajectory, seeing as he finds ways to lose in front of the entire world even when he refuses to step on a stage. Nobody is surprised anymore. Looking at that bet, it feels like a transparent play for attention from a man who knows his influence is leaking away much faster than his bank balance. He desperately wanted the conversation to be about his wealth and his high-stakes gambling, but the world just ended up laughing at how much of a professional loser he looks like right now. It is a tragic irony that he would rather throw away a fortune in a casino than risk his ego on a stage where Kendrick Lamar already set the bar at an unreachable height. The ego is too fragile. Even the sports community seems exhausted by the Drake curse, mostly because it serves as a constant reminder that his energy is just not aligned with the winning circle anymore. Reaching for relevance with these flashy bets is a clear sign he knows his music is no longer doing the heavy lifting for his brand. The entire weekend looked like a masterclass in how a person can ruin their own reputation while desperately trying to salvage what is left of it. He is playing himself. When you actually break down the numbers, you start to realize the man is taking heavy losses on every single front imaginable. Losing $1 million on a game he felt too terrified to attend is a level of irony that a Hollywood writer could not even script. The Seahawks did more than just beat the Patriots. They effectively stomped out the last bit of credibility Drake struggled to cling to during the biggest weekend in sports. He is out of options. Fans are clowning him for trying to stay in the loop through a gambling app instead of relying on the actual natural talent that made him famous in the first place. This move highlights a complete lack of focus and a total misunderstanding of what his audience actually wants to see from him. While the rest of the world focused on a legendary game of football, they also caught a glimpse of a man spending a fortune just to avoid being ignored. The silence is deafening. The Drake curse has officially moved past the world of sports and settled in as a permanent part of his brand identity. This failure is just another chapter in a story that is quickly turning into a cautionary tale for anyone who thinks a fat wallet can replace genuine cultural impact. Kendrick is out here collecting awards and shattering records, while Drake is stuck in a cycle of losing millions and dodging the spotlight. The levels are different. That contrast is sharp enough to cut through glass, and his fans are not giving him a single second of peace on the timeline. Every time he attempts to make a power move, it just feels like he is grabbing a shovel to dig a deeper hole for his own legacy. This weekend was supposed to be his chance to remind us of his power, but instead he just reminded us that he is not a winner, and he is definitely not ready for the heat Kendrick Lamar brought to the game. The receipts are permanent. Kendrick basically welded the crown to his skull on February 1st, 2026, during the 68th Annual Grammy Awards, where he controlled the entire evening like a true general. While Drake sat at home nursing a bruised ego, Dot walked away with 5 trophies in a single night and made the whole thing look effortless. This win served as a massive statement to the industry that the West Coast currently occupies the driver's seat. Lamar now claims a career total of 27 Grammys, a number that officially pushes him past Jay-Z and his 25 trophies to become the most awarded hip-hop artist ever. You have to grasp the weight of this because Jay-Z represented the gold standard for decades, yet Kendrick blew past that mark before his 40th birthday even arrived. Key wins included Best Rap Album for GNX and Record of the Year for Luther featuring SZA, which meant the GNX project finally received the flowers it deserved from the culture. During his acceptance speech, he reminded the world that hip-hop stays right here, and that provided a sharp contrast to the constant complaining we hear from Drake. While the boy stays busy blaming his label or claiming the industry works against him, Kendrick proves that the music still screams louder than any corporate narrative. You can actually feel this shift in the game because Kendrick secured that greatest of all time title through raw accolades, while Drake fights for social media snippets. It is one thing to have streaming numbers, but earning the hardware to prove your dominance is a completely different level of respect. Kendrick operates in a space where the trophies are just a byproduct of his greatness, and the world finally handed him his proper due. Every person in that room showed visible respect as he accepted those awards because he earned them without using any manufactured hype. While Kendrick stacked up his historic trophies, Drake tried to find a victory in the courtroom, but even that play fell apart on him. Early February 2026 saw U.S. District Judge Vargas officially dismiss a defamation case regarding those legendary "Not Like Us" lyrics that had everyone singing along last summer. Drake attempted to claim the certified pedophile line was defamatory, but the court viewed it differently and ruled the lyric is legally protected opinion. Judge Vargas explained that this type of language serves as a standard part of rap battle culture, which meant reasonable listeners would never take those words as literal truth. A massive blow hit Drake through this ruling because he desperately wanted to paint Kendrick as a manipulator of facts. But the courts now say what Kendrick did was just part of the game, and that is a tough pill for Drake to swallow after losing the battle so publicly. Judge Vargas noted that the bitter verbal exchange between these two was a rap beef rather than a factual news report, which essentially told Drake to stop being so sensitive. The dismissal reinforces the idea that the battle was won on the records, and the legal system will not bail him out of a lyrical loss he started. It is actually hilarious that he thought a judge would save his reputation when the music already finished the job. Confirmation came through this ruling that Kendrick stayed well within his rights to go after him, and the certified pedophile line now stands as a legally protected part of history. It proves that the boy is running out of moves, and his attempt to use the law to silence a rival backfired completely. The court basically told him that if he hated the lyrics, then he should have written better ones to fire back with. This serves as the final nail in the coffin for the narrative that Drake was a victim because even the law says it was a fair fight. Kendrick holds the trophies and the legal wins, while Drake is left with a pile of legal fees and a bruised reputation that no lawsuit can fix. You cannot sue your way back to the top spot when the culture already moved on without you. Drake is playing chess in a courtroom while Kendrick plays the actual music, and that is why the outcome looks so lopsided right now. The vibe at the 68th Annual Grammy Awards felt like a heavy realization that we are witnessing the absolute peak of an era. When Kendrick walked up to that stage to grab his fifth award of the night, even the veterans sitting in those front rows recognized they were looking at a legend in real time. Surpassing Jay-Z is not a milestone that happens every day, and K-Dot pulled it off with GNX, which makes the win even sweeter for the day ones who saw this coming from the jump. That collaboration with SZA on Luther brought a perfect mix of soul and grit that earned every bit of his Record of the Year win. Soul and grit captured a specific feeling that Drake has not been able to touch in years, and Kendrick used that platform to remind the world that the heart of hip-hop still beats without corporate validation. Label complaints and conspiracy theories from Drake look weak compared to this win. Kendrick stands as living proof that undeniable music brings the accolades regardless of the industry politics happening behind the scenes, and even the most loyal Drake fans are starting to look concerned because of it. Lamar now holds the title of the most awarded hip-hop artist in Grammy history, a statistic that will dominate the GOAT conversation for decades because it represents a level of prestige you simply cannot buy with marketing budgets or fake streams. Mastery of his craft creates this level of prestige. The legal system has officially weighed in on this beef, and the results ended up just as one-sided as the actual records. Judge Vargas really broke it down for the world when he dismissed that defamation case because he understood the context of the culture better than Drake did. By ruling that the most controversial bars in Not Like Us qualify as protected opinion, the court basically validated Kendrick's right to be as savage as he wants. Drake was clearly praying for a legal miracle to scrub his image, but instead he received a harsh lesson in the First Amendment and the history of hip-hop. Court documents essentially declared that rap fans are smart enough to distinguish a diss track from a witness statement, which completely dismantled the idea that Kendrick was being reckless. This ruling proves that the courts are not a playground for rappers who get their feelings hurt during a lyrical exchange. Such results were completely final. His attempt to paint Kendrick as a malicious actor fell completely flat, making his entire legal team look like they were reaching for straws the whole time. Only the culture remains as the judge that matters in a rap war, and this dismissal reinforces that the culture already handed Kendrick the crown. Massive embarrassment followed for Drake when a judge told the world that his complaints are basically irrelevant to the law. Kendrick can now move forward knowing that even the legal system respects his artistic expression. Legal losses like this carry just as much weight as the lyrical ones because they show there is no escape from the consequences of this beef. Every level of this game belongs to Kendrick now, leaving Drake to just stare at the wreckage of a narrative he could no longer control. Just one day before J. Cole prepared to shake up the industry with his highly anticipated project, The Fall Off, DJ Academics appeared on the timeline with a brand new snippet from the upcoming Iceman album. When this leak hit on February 5th, 2026, the timing felt so obvious that casual observers recognized the classic 2024 beef cycle play of sucking all the oxygen out of the room right as another artist prepares for their moment. Drake targets, he labels double agents in the snippet while taking some very public shots at his own label. These lyrics mention that he surrendered 15 years of his soul to a company that he claims works against him behind the scenes. It looks like the boy finally realized that the corporate machine he helped build no longer cares about protecting his ego at all costs. Fans quickly accused him of using this snippet to overshadow J. Cole because it represents a predictable move from a man who cannot stand to see anyone else in the spotlight. This sabotage attempt feels especially desperate since Cole stayed out of the mess to work on his craft while Drake spiraled in public. The industry views this Iceman persona as a last-ditch effort to pivot into a villain role after the Big Three narrative completely collapsed under the weight of Kendrick's dominance. Drake wants us to believe he turned cold and heartless now that he can no longer play the part of the beloved superstar everyone looks up to. Rebranding his losses as some kind of dark origin story is a calculated move, but nobody is buying the act. Paranoia drips from the leaked bars where he talks about double agents and betrayal from within his own inner circle. Complaining about a label after giving them 15 years shows that the business side of his career looks just as messy as the creative side right now. He tries to act like a martyr who the industry done dirty, but we all know he stood as the primary benefactor of that system for over a decade. This transition into a villain serves as a way to deflect from the fact that he got outworked and outclassed by Kendrick Lamar on every single level. While Cole prepared to give the fans a classic project they had been waiting on for years, Drake stayed busy making sure the conversation focused on his personal grievances. This toxic pattern of behavior proves he does not actually care about the culture or his peers as much as he cares about his own ranking. The Iceman persona is supposed to make him look tough and unbothered, but but the result is that he looks like someone freezing up under the pressure of his own decline. Fighting a war on too many fronts has led him to sabotage J. Cole, but that is just another way of burning bridges he might desperately need later on, especially since fans have grown exhausted by these predictably timed leaks. Drake tries to control the narrative by being the loudest person in the room while Kendrick stays precise and Cole stays focused. It makes him look like a man terrified of being forgotten while the rest of the big three move forward with their legacies intact. Summer 2026 is bringing massive news from the sports world that Drake has staked his entire future on. FIFA President Gianni Infantino dropped some major hints about Drake performing for the first ever 2026 World Cup halftime show on July 19, 2026. MetLife Stadium will host this performance, and the industry is framing it as the ultimate answer to Kendrick's legendary Super Bowl moment. Observers say that Drake is banking on this global stage to finally reclaim the momentum he lost back in 2024 and 2025. The World Cup provides a massive platform where the eyes of the entire planet will watch him during that July afternoon, making this a huge gamble that highlights the divide between Kendrick Lamar's historic prestige and Drake's commercial scrambling. Kendrick is busy breaking records set by Jay-Z and sweeping the Grammys, while Drake is out here hoping a soccer tournament can save his brand. It is a desperate position to be in when you are trying to outperform a ghost that you were too scared to meet at the Super Bowl just a few months ago. Drake hopes that a massive international audience will forget the lyrical beatdown he took and focus on the hits, but the culture has a very long memory. The road to July 19th is going to stay filled with tension because Drake knows he has to deliver something life-changing to even stay in the conversation. Looking at the start of 2026, the gap between these two artists has reached a point where it is impossible to ignore. Kendrick Lamar is currently carrying 5 new Grammys, which officially makes him the most awarded hip-hop artist to ever participate in the ceremony. Beyond the hardware, he holds a victory from the legal system that confirmed his music stands as protected speech. Drake is currently occupied with losing $1 million on terrible football bets and dropping leaked snippets just to mess with J. Cole's release week. One man is building a legacy that will be studied for 100 years, while the other is just trying to figure out how to be a villain without losing his remaining endorsements. His upcoming World Cup performance at MetLife Stadium represents a final opportunity to prove he can still command a massive crowd, but the pressure has never been higher. Kendrick has already set the gold standard for what a halftime show should look like, which means Drake has to do something truly spectacular to avoid being called a second-place act. Poetic justice is definitely served when the very stage the boy refused to step on in Santa Clara has become the shadow he has to live in for the rest of his career. Kendrick has proven that you win by being better, while Drake is still trying to prove that you win by being louder, but the trophies are all sitting in Compton right now. When we look at the scoreboard right now, the game has effectively ended for the version of Drake we used to know. Kendrick Lamar walked away from that historic Grammy night with enough prestige to surpass Jay-Z, and he accomplished it with a project that actually resonates with people on the ground. Drake is left with a massive financial loss on a bet and a leaked snippet that makes him look petty and out of touch. The OVO leader knows the hero narrative is dead and gone, so he is trying to pivot into this Iceman character to mask the fact that he is struggling. Everything hinges on July 19th at the World Cup, yet he is already starting to race from behind because he was too scared to show up when the lights were the brightest. Kendrick is out here living his best life as the greatest of all time, while Drake spends his nights fighting his own label and his damaged reputation in the dark. The road to that July performance is going to be a long one, and if Drake does not find a way to actually make good music again, even the World Cup cannot save him from the truth. No amount of high-stakes gambling or petty snippets will change the reality that the crown is sitting firmly in Compton while the rest of the world enjoys the sun. This week has been a total disaster for the boy, and things are only going to get harder as Kendrick continues to solidify his place in history. We are watching the final chapters of a legacy that chose to hide instead of fight, and the results are exactly what the streets expected. Kendrick has the trophies and the law on his side, while Drake is just left with his snippets and his regrets.